that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed
absolutely
is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them.
So let me ask you another question about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity?
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491
Does it cut
million.
that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting
cut the
CISA
program
back on mission.
And it's
ensuring that cybersecurity is going to be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cyber secure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
if you look on record, that's what you've cut.
What happens when border enforcement stops targeting criminals and starts testing the limits of the Constitution? That's the question behind this explosive exchange in Congress.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for being here. You know, Michigan's a border state, so we need each other. We have a very big bridge that's being inaugurated, ribbon cut in September. We need that to be fully staffed. We have a lot going on in Michigan as a northern border state, so we need each other. But what I'm concerned about is that you've taken the mandate to close off the border beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I worked my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, you know, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens.
Detained?
Or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and if we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
we have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But the mothers,
it's hard to imagine a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. The Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when my colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has, you sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is, it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting
10 of
people
them
who
have
have
been
legal
deported.
status here.
10 American citizens
If the children have gone
deported
with their parents, it's because their
let me
parents
ask you
wanted
another
them with
question
them.
about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity?
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the
and what
talking
it's
point.
doing is
Does it
putting
cut the
CISA
program?
back on mission.
And
it's
you can't say
ensuring
that this is the most
cybersecurity is going to be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cyber-secure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
and if you
be
look
when
on record, that's what you've cut. I yield back.
Time has expired. Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, good to see you.
Senator Elissa Slotkin opened by grounding the conversation in lived reality. Michigan is a border state, not just on the southern frontier, but on the northern one, with major bridges, trade routes, and daily cross-border movement that require cooperation between state and federal authorities. By starting there, Slotkin made a critical point. Border enforcement is not an abstract slogan for states like hers. It is infrastructure, staffing, and public safety all at once. If you value this kind of context-driven reporting, take a moment to subscribe. What Slotkin was really challenging was the idea of mission creep. Policies sold to the public as narrowly focused often expand quietly, either through sloppiness or intent. She reminded viewers that many American families fled countries where people had no rights, no due process, no protection against arbitrary detention. Her argument was that the United States cannot claim to be different if lawful immigrants and citizens are treated as collateral damage. If this kind of deeper analysis matters to you, make sure to subscribe. When Slotkin asked directly whether the Department of Homeland Security had made mistakes, the answer was carefully framed. Secretary Kristi Noem insisted that U.S. citizens are not deported and that interviews and vetting prevent such outcomes. Slotkin responded with documented cases involving American citizen children, including children with cancer, who were removed from the country alongside their parents. The administration's position is that parents chose to keep their children with them. Slotkin's rebuttal was simple and human. A small child does not meaningfully choose deportation. If you appreciate reporting that centers the human impact behind policy language, subscribe for more. The conversation then turned to the administration's repeated claim that it is targeting only the most dangerous individuals. Slotkin challenged that framing by asking whether unarmed PhD and master's students with legal status qualify as threats. This question exposed a gap between public messaging and enforcement reality. When Noem deflected responsibility to the State Department, Slotkin pushed back, emphasizing that DHS enforcement decisions still shape outcomes on the ground. If you want continued coverage that explains how bureaucratic responsibility really works, subscribe now. One of the most consequential moments came when Slotkin addressed habeas corpus. For viewers at home, this is not a technical legal term. It is the right to challenge unlawful detention, a cornerstone of constitutional protection. Slotkin referenced Noem's earlier remarks, suggesting it was a presidential power rather than an individual right. Her warning was direct. Undermining habeas corpus is not a policy tweak. It is a fundamental shift in how government power operates. If you want reporting that connects constitutional principles to real-world consequences, be sure to subscribe. Slotkin also made a political point that cut across party lines. Even Americans who support strict border enforcement, including those who voted for Trump, do not expect a government that can detain people arbitrarily, especially citizens and lawful residents. Her message was that enforcement without guardrails erodes trust in government itself. If this kind of accountability-focused journalism matters to you, subscribe to keep up. Before yielding her time, Slotkin pivoted to cybersecurity, another issue often overshadowed by immigration debates. She challenged DHS over nearly $500 million in proposed cuts to programs that support state and local governments. Her argument was straightforward. You cannot claim to be the most cyber-secure administration while cutting the very programs states rely on to defend hospitals, elections, and critical infrastructure. This moment highlighted how national security is broader than borders alone. If you want more reporting that connects these dots, subscribe for future updates. This exchange was not about scoring points in a hearing room. It was about whether national security can be pursued without sacrificing constitutional rights and human dignity. If you want clear, thoughtful breakdowns that help you understand what you are really watching, not just what was said, make sure to subscribe.